right, this brings us to our speaker spot, our weekly speaker spot. Here we go. Every week at Business at Breakfast, one of the members gets the opportunity to share with the group a little bit more about their business. They can problem solve or enlighten the group a little bit more about themselves, or they can just ask for assistance or advice. Now, I've been going through this sort of fad of just pulling people out of the crowd to see who's around. There's many reasons, but in actual fact, I've been in a bit of a dilemma today, but I've picked my person. It'll be unexpected and it's going to kind of muck her up a little bit because I know she does something else. But here we go. Cathy, I'm going to pick you today for a reason, right? We've been networking. You and I have been networking together for 5 years. We met at HMP and we've been networking for 5 years. And look, if there is a queen of networking, it's actually Cathy. She's been doing this 4 years longer than me, right? But she says it in her elevator pitch. She's been with Conga Water and selling it full-time for 16 years. And so when I get somebody to speak at Business at Breakfast and I pull them out of the crowd, I'm very specific with give us your elevator pitch and the history of how this happened. And when I think about it and I look at everybody on the screen, I've gone, actually, I've been wanting to know that history since forever. And then upon reading your books on, where did I put them, right? On networking on steroids and networking PQ. But I'm going to go with this one because this one's my extreme favorite, right? Is networking on steroids, because this is face-to-face. So whereas the other one's like after we've been on Zoom. So this is my extreme favorite. But even with that, as I was reading that, I thought, geez, I'd like to know that history story of where, how that all happened, how you discovered it, how you ended up there, why that. So that's actually what I'm after. I want that. And I'm sure we've all got questions for you, but even if we don't, it'd just be nice to know the history story because I've never heard it. So I'm going to give you start the clock and you know the system. If it runs out, we'll ask questions. But there you go. That's what I'm after. Do a quick elevator pitch again because there's some new people in. And then the history of how did Conga Water come to you?
Thank you so much, Misty. And wouldn't you all love to have an accent like Misty's? I know this is going to muck her up the way she says it. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'd love to learn how to have your fantastic dialect and you are great. So the bottom line is literally I have been in wellness forever and I have been schlepping vitamins back in the 80s actually. And I personally choose holistic remedies for challenges in health. And I have literally been like that forever. Adele Davis was my go-to person. And she was actually, she has written several books and her claim to fame was back in the 50s. And so I had all of her books back then. So that started my, I guess you would say my interest in wellness. And so literally I was schlepping vitamins and I found a new vitamin and I absolutely loved it. And it was the greatest thing since ever. And so I was at a networking event one time in 2008. And literally, it was probably 30 or 40 people in the room. And back then, when you were in person, literally, we were going around the room. Everybody was talking about what they do. And this fabulous looking couple stood up and said, hello, we give away free water. Thank you. And they sat down. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. What does that mean? And so, of course, I made a beeline for them after the event was over, which, of course, it was not their first rodeo. So they knew exactly who would be interested in the topic. So I went over and I said, talk to me about free water. How do you look like you do? They looked very affluent. How do you look like you do and give away free water? So they explained the system, the business model of Enagic, the Kangen Water Company, and I was in. Now I said, of course, like 90% of my clients always say, I have a question for you. And I love that begin right there. And I said, what's the question? And they always say, what does it taste like? And I said, well, Mark and Jacqueline, of course, would be able to answer that question. The answer is water.
Water. That's what I'm thinking, right? I bet it tastes like water.
Absolutely true, because otherwise I wouldn't be drinking it if it tasted like anything else. So that's always their first question, which I think is super cute. But anyway, back in the day, 2008, that's what they said. So I said, I would love to see this system and I would love to taste the water. They were very receptive. And like I say, they'd been in the business about 18 months by the time I had met them. They had already made, they had already done quite well in the business. And so I literally went to their home, also incredibly lovely, got to see the machine in action and tasted the water.
Water.
So
Mm.
I was like, holy moly, what's different about it? I went through every single question. Back then, I did not know about Google Scholar. And that's where I send all my clients now, because of course, if you ask Google anything, it's all a scam and snake oil and blah, blah, blah. That's why we've been around for 50 years, as Jacqueline can attest to, having gotten to be in Osaka with our CEO and founder, Hanari Oshiro. And so it really is a very exciting company. And again, celebrating 50 years this past March is a milestone. And so as soon as I went to their home, tasted the water, it tastes like water. I investigated every single way possible. I am a skeptic by nature, and I literally tore it apart, every single possible technology, this. And so I was in. And so I bought a machine, and the rest, as they say, is history. I made a deal with God. I'm sure he loves my deals. I made a deal with God. If the water works on, my children had what I consider very minor health challenges, but nonetheless annoyances. And I said to God, if the water works on my daughter's this and my son's that, I am quitting my job. I was in finance. Money and all the money stuff is my thing. And so if the water works on the kids, I am quitting my job and doing this full time. Now they each had their own homes by then, so hardly children kids. But my daughter jumped in immediately and said, holy moly, I can't believe it. And my son, of course, being a bit more like me and the skeptic, he goes, right. So I said, okay, you can drink it for free for 2 weeks and let's see what happens. And then in 2 weeks time, I said, how is your condition? And he goes, well, it's gone, but it can't be your dumb water. And I said, really? So I took him off of it. Literally, I said, you're now cut off, no more water. What do you mean? And I said, how am I going to know if the water worked if I don't take you off of it? In 3 days time, and I am talking 3 days time, he literally said, get me one of these machines. I cannot do this again. And so that's when I literally quit my job and started my Kangen water business. And the rest, as they say, is history. In our company, you can DBA, which means doing business as. Kangen and Enagic are owned by the company. So of course, I DBA my business, Miracles with Water. And so you can find my website, miracleswithwater.org, and actually learn about this water technology. Now, the best news is you can see a demo. It takes 9.5 minutes, 9.5 water, 9.5 minutes to watch the demo video, and you can learn all about it. But the best thing for me is that's how my books were born. I started networking all over the place, and that's why Networking on Steroids is for extroverts in person. Networking on Steroids PQ is for introverts, how to navigate these Brady Bunch squares. And then my 2 grief and bereavement books were born because my coach said, people need to hear your story. And I was like, who would read it? And she said, that is not your problem. So He Hit the Clouds Running and Never Looked Back was born, and My Final Footprints, Don't Leave Your Family in a Scavenger Hunt was born. And it's all because of Enagic, the Kangen Water Company, working on my kid's health condition and quitting my job. So Misty, basically that's my life in a nutshell.
That's so cool because I've never known it. To
Yeah.
be honest, like I just know that you've done it, that you've been doing it for such a long time, and that you've been out networking. But it's always been the thought in my head that I've never gotten around to asking you. But this is such a great spot to just ask and find out, because I'm always asking people's histories, because these become the questions that I ask in any one-to-one, and when I'm teaching people how to do one-to-ones and stay on track for it being a business conversation and not just some conversation that by the end of it you go, well, it was lovely, but I'm not really sure what I accomplished right there. I always say,
Yes.
ask these 3 questions, right? The first 3 questions, it's like this. It's the same with the presentation. If I don't give structure to everybody before they speak, whether it be through a coaching session first, or I just pull you out of the crowd and then give you structure, I know that you'll do a lovely talk on whatever it is, and everyone will leave going, that was cool. But I also know that on the other side of it is I can ask anyone and say, what do they sell and what do they sell? And I go, not entirely sure who's their customer. I'm not entirely sure. Can you tell me anything about their thing? No, but I think that they're cool. That's great. So they were cool because they used to turn up. They were cool anyway, right? But I always ask, these are the top questions that always get asked. It's like, what do you sell? Referees will ask this, referral. If you find someone, let's take Cathy as an example. If you find someone who has a health problem and you think, oh, I think the water will fix that, right? And Cathy will tell you, how much is it for a Kangen water system, Cathy?
$2,980 up to $6,000.
There you go, right? Because if you find someone with a health problem and then and say, oh my God, I think the Kangen water system will help with that. What's the first question that person, the referral, is going to ask?
Well, first of all, I always tell people I prefer to work with people who want to stay healthy. So I do have people on my team who like to work with people who are already sick. They find me because of my SEO, but I always say I prefer to work with healthy people who choose to stay that way. But I do have a naturopath on my team who actually is good at helping people with illness challenges. But the first question they ask is, how long does it take the water to work?
Yeah,
And
right.
my answer to that is, how long does it take broccoli to work? I have absolutely no idea. Every body is different. And there are a lot of parameters within the water machine. How old is the water as far as, did you store it for 6 months before you drank it? Did you drink it right out of the machine, as we call point of use? So again, I prefer to work with healthy people who choose to stay that way. But I do have people who instantly, can the water fix da-da-da? You didn't get in this condition overnight. And of course, they want the water to work overnight. But I always say, well, how long does it take broccoli to work? And that really is my answer.
That's a cool line. I had Addie Sugarman Mandani, so she's the HMP, right? So she's an ASEA consultant, and she gets asked this question: how long do I have to have, like if I'm on ASEA, how long, or redox, how long do I have to have it for? And her answer is this. Well, the answer actually is for the rest of your life. That's the answer. The short answer is for the rest of your life. And people go, seriously, I have to do this for the rest of my life? And she said, it's kind of like cleaning your teeth. And they go, well, I do that every day. Oh, well, there you go. It's just a choice, right? I mean, you can choose not to clean your teeth and then see what happens on the other side, but you won't know until you stop. On the other hand, we're so used to doing it, we sort of think, I'm not sure that I'm game enough to find out what happens on the other side. All right, Lorraine, you got your hand up?
Sorry, no.
No. Oh, you were thinking. All right. So yeah, I always ask the questions: how much does it cost? What is it? How much does it cost? So yours is a device. How much does it cost? Up to $7,000, and then who buys it? So you've answered that one for me beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
Then I also find that the next question that often gets asked by different people is, wow, that's so exciting. How long have you been doing that for? Which again gives us a history story. If we can understand, if we know the history story of someone, of what they sell, that endears us to them and the product. Oh my God, now I understand why I'd go to you and no one and not somebody else that does the same thing. So by hearing Cathy's history story, go, oh, now do I have kids that were trying to get over something? And if that would work, like you'd start to put yourself into the same shoes as how Cathy is, if that's my situation. But we can ask Mark the same thing. We can ask Jacqueline. I know Jacqueline's history story is that she got bronchitis a couple of years ago, right? Or last year. All year long, like I'd struggled to see you out and you couldn't stop coughing, and you just had this health thing that just lingered on forever. And then you discovered Mark, and Mark said, hey, try this water and see if that doesn't fix it. And then her cough went away. Oh, holy cow. Well, that endears you to Jacqueline. If you've got this lingering cough or this lingering cold that just won't go away, and you hear Jacqueline's story, you'll start to go, oh, crap, I need to speak to her more. And it endears you to the consultant based off the history story of what it is, but you get to hear how it's worked in their life. They're not just, like you said, Cathy, it's not just snake oil where you're just selling something that sounds good. You're selling something that you tested out hard and to see how that works. And if it works in the way that there's the expectation, or how does it work, then you're able to pass that information. It's why I recommend the movies, because I test it out and it's so cool to go to the movies. And it's why I recommend chocolates, because it's delicious. I test it out every day, right?
And one thing I did want to mention, Misty, on that topic, once again, we don't cure, treat, diagnose anything, and never is the water. I've tried everything. Now I'm going to go to Kangen. The water's not on trial. It's been around for 50 years. And so when people say, I want to test it, and like I say, in the olden days, pre-COVID, people would come over here. I'd give them a 2-week free trial of the water so they could taste it, experience it, all of that. But the bottom line is, if you can clean and disinfect, I haven't used laundry soap or toner for my skin or carpet cleaner or anything other than the water out of my machine for 16 years. And you don't have to use chemicals. People are sensitive to smell and all kinds of stuff. That's the biggest part of the technology. Drinking water is lovely, and we can save you a lot of money on all the bottled water stuff that you're drinking, and we can save your recycle bin a whole lot of plastic. But the bottom line is, again, we don't cure, treat, diagnose anything. And this is for all households and offices, not just the people who are sick. So our target market is a lot bigger than just a specific clientele. And I'm always, of course, looking for business builders because training is one of my favorite things. Once you sell 8 machines, depending upon structure and different techniques we help you with, but once you sell 8 machines, yours is paid for with the commissions that you earn. So there are so many advantages to this company. I am a lifer.
Yeah. You know, you've just given me an idea of who would be a great client. Someone with a guide dog. They will do everything to make sure that that dog can walk everywhere and that its paws are clean. I spoke to, there was, we've had different times, blind people on Business at Breakfast, and I get to talk to them about different things, but with their dogs, the importance of their dog and the dog's health, but with them being cleaned and clean paws and be able to do it just with water, because the dogs have to walk everywhere. They're their eyes. So, and walk on everything, and they do walk on anything because the blind person is tending to go in that direction. So yeah.
As on to that end, also pets love it. And one of my favorite demos is when I went to people's homes with one of my machines and showed them or hooked the machine up so they could drink it out of their own faucet. I literally said, let's give your animal a try. And they'd go, they only drink water. And I said, that's all we're doing is water. So I'd let them pour the bowl of water for their dog, just the way they always do. And then I said, watch this. And I put a bowl of Kangen, same type of bowl. So there was no differentiation. And the dog went to the Kangen every time because their noses are very sensitive. And so they would obviously sniff and they'd go to the water that they're used to. And then they'd go to ours and it's like, wow. And it doesn't, all the chlorine and stuff that's in the tap water. There is none, of course, in Kangen. And so they'd go to the Kangen every time. And many times for pet owners, that's what sold the machines for me.
Wow, there you go. And Gerald, I'm going to let you do the last question, but this just had me think of Terry. So my dogs have all the dog bites, right? And there's a good way. Joe says sometimes, you know, like if you want to calm your dog down, just feed them more so that they've got a full tummy. And I remember once when Terry was really little, I heard this noise and I've gone, what is that? And I went looking and he'd gotten into the big container where I have all the bites. And he's this little puppy, right? And he's having a wow time, tail wagging, head in there, eating away. And didn't think too much of it, going, you sneaky pup. We went for a walk, and when he came back from the walk, he drank and drank and drank. And then he couldn't move for about 24 hours as his tummy exploded from the water going in. And I'm thinking, it would be so much less water. He would drink so much, it would be so much less water, and that would do all the work.
Yes.
Right. Gerald, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, thank you so much, Cathy, for your presentation. Very informative. What exactly does the machine do?
That's a great question.
And is there any maintenance like cleaning it inside?
Fantastic. Those are great questions. And once again, the good news is you've got Mark and Jacqueline on this call. They can also help you with this, because for me, we are all on Mr. Oshiro's team, and it is awesome. I'm a certified trainer, which is an additional designation within the company. So I can literally train globally, which I love that part. So the bottom line is the machines are very self-sufficient, which I love. They clean themselves every 15 gallons, which means you'll, depending upon the machine that you get, it either says or states on the screen, notice of cleaning. So you run the water for 30 seconds and the machine cleans itself. There are 5, 6, 7 titanium plates dipped in platinum, and you need to make sure that those are mineral free at all times. So the machine cleans itself every 15 gallons or after you create the 2.5 and 11.5 machine waters. Again, I know all of this is foreign language to you, but once you talk to Jacqueline or certainly to Mark or me, we can explain that to you in detail, or go to the website enagic.com to learn more. The rest of the story is every month, some people do it twice a month. I do it on the first of the month to help me remember. There's a cartridge that comes with the machine, and you put citric acid in it. It's just cleaning powder. completely harmless, non-toxic, and you put that in the machine. It shows you how, and for 3 to 5 hours, I do mine overnight because I'm never without my water for 3 to 5 hours. So I let mine happen overnight, but you clean the machine with the cartridge that comes with it. So again, it's incredibly low maintenance. There's a filter that's involved and you could change that. The machine alerts you. And if you don't have a filter yet, just hit reset on your machine. And then you get a chance to order a filter from the company. And it, every 8 to 12 months is when you need a filter replacement. And so again, incredibly user-friendly. Otherwise, I couldn't do it. And as far as what does the water do, if you look up on Google Scholar, ionization, these are ionizers. They restructure tap water so your body can actually assimilate the water. It goes into your cells, not into your stomach, so you have effective hydration. And so it really is technology, but ionization would actually help you understand. We are very, 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 I always tell people as far as efficacy, as soon as you throw a tennis ball through a chain link fence, it's probably not going to go through. If you throw BBs through a chain link fence, you'll have better effectiveness. And our water is definitely the BB version, which is why once you drink water of ours, you don't have that sloshy feeling in your stomach. So the hydration piece is very huge. And so ionization will help you understand the process, but be sure and go to Google Scholar, because like I say, if you go to Google, everything's a scam and snake oil. And that's why we've been around for 50 years. Back to you, Misty.
Excellent. I'm going to end with one story then from that, and I'll try and go super fast because I know that we've got you over time and Jack will probably kill me anyway. But when these books turned up in the mail, right, my boys turned around and said, oh, who are they from? I said, they're from Cathy. Cathy's the one that helps me with YouTube. And they said, oh, is that what she sells? I said, she doesn't actually. She sells a Kangen water system. Now, at the time of me telling them this, it would have been a couple of years ago. So we're looking at a 12-year-old and a 10 or a 9-year-old, right? And they said, what's that? And I said, think of Kangen water system is like a water system that sits on the bench that negatively charges the water. And their first question is, how much is that? This is about $7,000. $7,000 to just put water from that? That's crazy. And I'm going, I know, right? And they said, but what does it do? And I said, all right, let's have a look at it. It negatively charges the water. So this is how I describe it to them. It negatively charges versus it's currently positively charged, right? And they've gone, what does that mean? I said, imagine the inside of your tummy as a magnet and it's a positive charge. If you were to drink positive charged water, what is that doing when the water gets into your tummy? Now, even Noah at 9 said, well, I don't think it won't be touching your tummy. So I don't think that it's going into your body properly. It's apparently not. It's about 15% of water goes into your body and 85% doesn't, right? I said, now imagine if we run it through the Kangen water system and it negatively charges it and the inside of your tummy is positive charged and you drink it with this negative charged water, what do you think it'll do? And the boys have gone, well, it'll suck to the inside of your tummy. And then I watched them as the lights turned on and they've gone, so it'd be like really going into your body. Apparently so, about 80%, like right into your body. So it changes it. And then Noah said, it sounds like it'd keep you healthy, like really healthy, if it's actually the water's really getting used in your body a lot. And I said, yeah, I believe so. He said, so you could be like healthy every day for the rest of your life. And I said, yeah. And he said, and you're saying it only costs $7,000? Yeah. And he goes, I don't even understand why it's not more than that. Now, that's the voice of a 9-year-old. Now, they can work it out. Right? So it's interesting to be able to tell these stories as I've collected along the way as well about how different things work. But that's my favorite for the Kangen water. Now,
my favorite too, Misty, and I really do mean that because quite frankly, and I hate to be on a recorded line for this part, but I personally don't think the company is charging enough. Once you understand the value and what these do, and by eliminating toxins and chemicals in your house and all the stuff you don't have to buy anymore. And again, 16 years, I've got quite a list. I really don't think they're charging enough, but don't tell them I said that because I don't want another price increase.
You know, we just have one. We'll just stick with that for the next 16 plus, right?
Right.
All right, then. Thank you, everyone, for being here at Business at Breakfast today. I'm aware that we have gone over in time. That wasn't the intention, but, you know, so it just happens. It always happens with the speakers that we quite enjoy it. Thank you, Cathy, for being our speaker today. Super loved hearing that history story of how that came about. Now I know it. Thank you, audience, for participating and asking questions as well.